Welcome back to the table. I'm joined today by Liz Sterling, author, radio host, and storyteller. Liz, welcome to the table. Why don't you give us a little brief overview of yourself?
I would be happy to.
Please do.
If I were to give you an overview of myself, I have to start by saying I'm from New York. Get that out of the way.
Okay.
Everybody, you know, people are really nice here in Colorado. I relocated about 9 months ago, and people are like, where are you from? And I say, I'm from New York. And they're like, I knew it. Whereas if you travel in other places, people will come up and go, you're from New York. And
right.
so it happened yesterday in a restaurant. So I'm from New York. I had, a great upbringing on Long Island. Mm-hmm. My mom was very dedicated to being, raising the family, a homemaker. And that was really my aspiration. I thought I was going to be a PTA mom.
Oh, okay.
That was like, I'll help my kids and in the school. But we ended up, met the man who became the father of my children, my husband. And instead of raising our family in New York, we relocated to Florida.
Oh, okay.
And my very best girlfriend told me that I said to her before I left New York, there's something for me in Florida. I feel like I'm going to do something or get involved in something or make a difference. But I had no idea what it was going to be. Long story short, a couple years after I moved to Florida, I actually started a PTA in my daughter's Montessori school. So I fulfilled that dream or vision. But one day I was listening to the radio, and the people I was listening to really sparked my interest. And it ended up just by chance that I started working for them. They were in radio broadcasting. I came on as their salesperson. One day, the husband and wife team, the wife asked me to cover for her while she went on a field trip with her daughter. I said, what am I supposed to do? She goes, you sit down at the table and you talk. And I was like, talk? I could do that. So I got onto the radio, the on-air light turned on, and I felt more alive and invigorated and energized than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And like a duck to water, that's how I took to radio.
Understand. I mean, I understand only too well because I also have been on the radio. But going back before my radio days, you just explained standing in the wings before going on stage.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
You just get that sort of
it's a feeling.
Adrenaline rush and boom.
I like everyone to know that we have an internal barometer or an internal signal, intuition, call it what you will, that will give us an extra heartbeat. It'll like make you jump for joy. You'll get a thought. I had it yesterday with one of my students, and she has no artistic abilities whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But she said she went outside in the morning and she looked at this tree and she heard this thought in her head, and it said, I bet I could draw that tree. And she was shocked that she had a thought like that. It was a whisper. It wasn't like loud or booming.
No, I understand.
It was
just a little bit in the back of the mind.
Right. It's something it's a prelude to what can be potentialized.
Correct.
It's like an acorn has the potential to become an oak tree. And that's something that I believe lives within each and every one of us.
But there are some people that just live in a blinkered life. And they don't understand what they're looking at. They'll look at a tree and not see the beauty in it. They'll look at a landscape and not see the beauty in it.
Well, I'll beg to differ with you. I think that everyone is wearing a pair of lenses that are unique to them.
That is true.
And if someone had the creative juice squeezed out of them when they were young, like where my mother is like, Elizabeth, you can't draw, then I thought of myself as someone who was incapable of drawing or being an artist. Mm-hmm. But years later, a friend took me to an art class where I was able to create collages.
Oh, there you go.
The teacher even asked me if she could feature it. but I didn't know that I had this. So I think that latent within each of us, if you can be catalyzed by someone or something, and it's usually someone or something.
Yes.
Each and every one of us can blossom like a beautiful flower. That's how I see the world.
And I will not dispute what you have just said at all, but you have got to want it to happen.
I would say to some degree there has to be a yearning. It may not be conscious, it may not be intentional, but I'm going to take us on to another level.
Yes.
I believe that each and every one of us are here, our souls, living this life.
Yes.
And the soul wants for every bit of potential to be actualized in the lifetime. That's why it chose an incarnation.
Right.
So my prayer is that everyone takes the gifts that they have within and asks and says, may I be actualized and potentialized so that I can feel deep fulfillment in my life experience.
And that makes an awful lot of sense.
I work with women who are in their 80s.
Oh, okay.
70s, 80s, occasionally 90s. And my teaching is about their having new, inspiring experiences every day. And sometimes it's just a matter of shifting our perception.
Right.
So ever so slightly, but to see through a different lens and a different point of view.
Understood, understood. So we're in the radio, but now you make a change. You go into podcasting.
Oh, well, this is like brand new. So, I was told by a mentor in my radio business years and years ago when I started. So the first time I got on the air was in 1993. And that's when I had that surge of energy and I'm like, whoa. And my career really was until 2003. I was on the radio and then I parlayed it into other things. I became a motivational speaker. I ended up opening a holistic wellness center. I ended up writing a book. The behind the scenes.
And there it is.
I interviewed on my radio thousands of celebrities, Walter Cronkite and Usher and Ed McMahon, and I had really great interviews with Joan Rivers and Joan London. I could just keep on going on for all the interviews that I had. But when I started in radio broadcasting, I wanted to speak to people who were in the personal growth and human potential movement.
Ah, okay.
People who were helping others to grow and to become more aware and to become more conscious and to make good choices and to be intentional in their thinking. And so this radio show, it was so successful. It was wonderful. I went for this ride. It was like a beautiful ride. And once you get the radio bug, my friend, you tell me, it's like always there. It may go to sleep, it may be dormant, but it is always there. There's something about either being on the radio or being in broadcasting or being involved in media that...
Actually, it's being in front of an audience.
I hadn't really thought about it that way because I'm not even thinking about the audience.
Because that's exactly how we feel as actors when I used to do an awful lot of acting. That's exactly how you feel about it. And I've said this to many people in the past. People forget, as soon as you are in front of an audience, you are acting. And it doesn't matter if it's an audience of one or an audience of thousands, you are still acting.
So you're just triggering a memory with my interview with Joan Rivers. And I interviewed her. And at the end of the interview, I was like, Joan, tell me what it's like. You've just finished entertaining 1,000 people in the audience. They're all like going, yay. And she did this thing. She would go like this, yay. And I said, what's that like for you? And you want to hear what she said? By the time I get home, I need more.
Yes.
That hit that she would get, it wasn't sustaining. And she needed the audience in order to give her that whole feeling of well-being, of excitement and enthusiasm. So To a degree, I mean, I would probably be speaking to you a little differently if the lights and the cameras and the microphones weren't on, of course. We maybe would even be singing, which I would never do in public.
Motivational speaker. What is a motivational speaker?
That's a really good question. I think I could just substitute the word motivation with positivity.
Okay.
So I'm the kind of person, I like to do what's called a reframe.
Okay.
And a lot of people go, oh, I can't do that, right? I can't get up early in the morning and go to the gym. And I like to help people to be the one to motivate them. Mm-hmm. And so I could help them reframe it by saying, what would happen if you took the word can't out and instead you supplanted it with I choose not to? Mm-hmm. Giving you power over the choices that you're making. Because I may not be so happy with saying, well, I choose not to go to the gym. I may say, I have a choice. I don't have to say I can't. I could say I choose not to. I'm now empowered. I'm empowered by my choices. So when I motivate someone, I'll help to reframe their perspective or their point of view and to see more possibilities. I cannot make them take that step, but I certainly can activate something within them that wasn't there when we first met.
Right, so you're sort of giving them a script that they can work by. Would that be a way of putting it?
I'm giving them a tool.
Or a tool.
Yeah, everybody's going to write their own script.
Right.
So I could share a story about my life that could be an illustration for them. And then through the story, they could make their own deduction and then they could make their next choices. So like I told you the story about my student yesterday who looked outside and having had 70 years of messaging, you're not an artist, you're not an artist, you're not an artist, you're not an artist. All of a sudden, she saw herself picking up pen to paper and being able to do something that she never did or didn't even think she was capable of.
Right.
So I like to hold open for people possibilities that are more positive rather than them being in limitation. Because a lot of people are living in limitation, in lack, in poverty consciousness. I can't, I don't, I won't. And I just like that little shift. I can, I am, I will, I choose, I have. Oh my gosh, it makes you feel so much more expanded. And I think in this day and age, I had an experience myself where I was watching too much media. And it was weighing me down. And I was doubting whether or not I have a voice that is even worth bringing into the world, because this podcasting is something new. And I challenge myself to do new things. And doing podcasting with video cameras, this is like a whole new realm. It's exciting. But I started shrinking and feeling small and feeling that my voice really doesn't matter because there are so many bigger voices right now and naysayers. And I was ready to like curl up and just go, no. And I called a friend who said, don't let the world get you down. Let the world, whatever's going on out there, be the inspiration that lifts you up and says, yes, I can. And so that's why I'm here.
Right.
I really wanted to cancel. I didn't want to come. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to sit here and talk in a world where there's a lot of other talk that's going on that's heavy.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, wait, maybe Nigel and I can bring some light to the world.
And that's what we try and do from the Captain's Lounge right here, you know, try and put a little light into the world. Some topics that we cover are very, very difficult. We covered the war in Ethiopia, for instance. That was a hard one to do.
Yeah.
That really was. But, you know, we've done every kind of show here, and hopefully we're putting smiles on people's faces.
Well, you do that.
You know.
The first time I met you, you were engaging, you were fun, you're bright. You're a bright light in the world. People can see that. That's why you have success, because you want to be able to bring out the best in other people. And
Yes.
that's why you're sitting here at
Absolutely.
the table, because it's to be your best and bring out the
Yeah.
best in others.
People think I'm sitting here to grill you. I'm not. I'm sitting here to make you look good.
Oh, thank
And
you.
people don't understand that.
Well,
You know, that's what a good
certain,
interviewer does.
You have a certain style.
So, yes.
Can I share with you another
you can.
story? So remember I mentioned earlier that my goal was to interview people who were in the wellness, in the holistic field, in the positive field, the motivational, the personal growth. So those were all my interviews for the first
Right.
year and a half that I was on radio. And my producer, my program director, came to me and said, "Oh, we've got Christopher Darden." And I was like, "Who, what?" She goes, "The prosecutor from the OJ trial. We've got him coming into the studio." And I'm like, "I'm not doing that." She's like, "What do you mean you're not doing that?" I'm like, "I'm not going there. That's not what I do. I do personal growth. I do positivity. I do
Right.
motivation. I'm going to interview a prosecuting attorney from the OJ trial I don't even know anything about." I didn't want to be steeped in that. I didn't want my consciousness, like today, I have to be aware of what I tune into. That night, I had a dream. And in the dream, I heard this voice. And the voice was like, "Liz, what's the name of your radio show?" And so I say, "Inner Views." And then the voice says, "Everyone has an inner view. Everyone. You don't have to classify them or lock them in. They don't have to be good or bad. You don't have to like or not like. Your job is to draw out the innermost views of whoever you're sitting across the table from." And I was like, okay. And I woke up the next day. I told my program director, "I'll do it." It was one of the best interviews I ever had.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
I had to go into deep trust that my job was to bring forth Christopher Darden's interview. And actually the next day, I interviewed Robert Shapiro, the defense attorney, back to back. And then the newspapers picked it up. So I wanted to say no. Then the newspapers picked it up, and then I had a big interview, and the blah, 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 and the whole thing. So just say yes.
So it almost became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So,
Almost.
Yeah. I mean, something came of it that I couldn't have even orchestrated.
Right.
And so I know that for most of us, there's something bigger for us than we would envision for ourselves.
Right.
It's like step into what
Yes.
what titillates you, what excites you, what
What turns you on.
What turns you yeah.
Absolutely.
Just say yes.
Just say yes. Okay, we're going to be running out of time in a minute.
Oh, where are we
which
running?
Which is
No.
unfortunate. But
We'll wrap up.
you've been here in Colorado, moved to Colorado. You've
Yeah.
only been here, what, 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, 9 months, right.
Okay.
Gestation.
And you did send me some nice cheat notes, which have been absolutely really handy. But you've got
Thank
a
you.
great one here. Building a new community through media.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
Actually, I don't need to explain it. We're illustrating it.
Okay.
Right now, nobody knows that there are camera crew, sound engineers, people that have come together. My producer for the new Sterling Spin podcast is here. Already, when we enter into an environment with an intention to be part of something greater than ourselves, to be a magnet of attraction, to bring people together to help and support each other, that becomes the reality that we create. When I first walked into LPM, Longmont Public Media, after seeing a poster and then walking in there, I'm like, media, radio, podcast, wow, community. Like, I had that same feeling I had when I first was on the air. I got this burst of bubbling energy, and I was like, yes. Yes, because when you move to a brand new location and you're alone and you have maybe a friend or someone who I've known for 20 years
Right.
who lives here, I immediately knew that I would become part of a community and that I will be gaining support from others and learning and be educated. And the same is I will be helping others to learn and to shine and
Right.
do what they do best, as is happening like right here.
Empowering others through interviews. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Liz, thank you so much for coming in today.
You're welcome.
Do you have any closing words that you'd like to impart upon our people?
Well, so
Oh,
first
go
of all,
on.
I do have a book called Behind the Scenes, and I gifted it to myself for my 55th birthday. And I wrote the book. I cleared the decks, I moved everything out, and I wrote the book in 55 days.
Wow.
And it was inspired by one of my teachers. I've had many teachers, and I think I want to leave people with that message that if you are keeping your eyes open and if you're looking for guidance or support, a mentor, a teacher, a direction, a way to go, keep your eyes open and listen intuitively. Listen to that inner voice. It may only be a whisper, but it will guide you and it will help you to live your best life.
Absolutely. And also, just so people know, the book is called Behind the Scenes, but what's really important, celebrity interviews and inspiring life lessons. A book well worth reading. Trust me.
Thank you. 100 life lessons,
Yes.
little stories.
bits
They're
and
all
pieces and-
stories,
yep.
and then the story culminates with an insight
Right.
that I had from the teacher who taught me. Walter Cronkite was one of my interviews, and I learned from him, don't judge a book by the cover. Always, if the book is a book, open it up, scan it. Don't just look at it.
Right.
If the book, it's like an example, like a person, don't judge someone the second you meet them. Open up.
Yes.
Receive them, let them in, get to know yourself through connecting with others.
Absolutely.
It was really, really a great lesson. And my podcast, The Sterling Spin, stay tuned because it's going to show up everywhere.
Most wonderful. Liz, once again, thank you so much for joining me at the table and having this fascinating conversation.
Oh, will you come on my podcast?
Oh, my goodness. Shock. Yes, I'd love to.
Yes, let's
Yes,
do
I'd
it.
love
Okay.
However, I also want to get you back in the Captain's Lounge studios to do a part 2 interview sometime in the future.
Well, let's
Near
do
future.
that.
You gave me so much stuff
Yes.
that would still be going after 10 hours. And I know no one's going to watch an Andy Warhol thing of 10 hours long.
Well, we can only do this one for 20 some odd minutes.
That's
but
right.
We can continue the conversation and we'll bring it right back to
Right
the table.
back to the table. Liz,
Okay.
once again, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming in today.
Thank you, Nigel. Loved our time together.
I hope everyone enjoyed the show today. It's been absolutely fascinating sitting down and talking to Liz and talking about everything that she has been involved in. And we've only scratched the surface in this 20 minutes. I'm Nigel Aves, your host, signing off for the Captain's Lounge Studios. Stay safe out there. Bye.
The funniest story with Walter Cronkite. When I interviewed him, I had somebody who was in the business, so they videotaped it. So we're sitting down, and we're in this mansion in Boca Raton. The guy who owns 1 million square feet of space, he loaned us his home. So Walter Cronkite comes, and he comes in, and we welcome him. We sit down, we're all mic'd up, we're ready to go, and he looks over and he goes, "Can you tell me what I'm doing here?" And I was like, "I called in a favor." And he goes, "Good for you." Okay. So we do the interview. It's about 40 minutes. We do the interview, we finish, and I go, thank you very much. And he goes, thank you. And I'm like, what is it? And he goes, somebody say cut. And so the guy behind the camera goes, cut. And he was like, oh, it must have been about 15 or 20 seconds.
Really?
And he was so trained.
To hearing the word cut.
He could not let go until he heard the word cut. It was hysterical. We all laughed. And then he became like a father. And I showed you on the back. He like put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, you're doing really good journalism and broadcasting, and I see a lot in you. Thank you. This was a great interview.
That's nice.
And he gave me his personal number.
Wow.
And he said, you're welcome to call me. I'd be happy to mentor you. I was like, wow. And so, of course, I did make the phone call, but that's as far as it went.
Yes.
But I mean, it's great intentions.
Most excellent.
I would never say that on the air.